Hello, and welcome to this module on the project and planning cycles.
Planning and designing sanitation services is often part of a larger project cycle. Have you ever wondered how such a project cycle functions?
And where the planning cycle fits within that? In this module, you will learn about the 5 stages of the project cycle and why it is important for the proper planning and implementation of infrastructure and services for the water and sanitation sector. We will also explain the different steps of the planning cycle and review the key messages in the end.
In this video, we will be using generic steps and terminology to explain the project and planning cycles. Please note that there may be other terms or variations of the cycles used depending on the context. The project cycle, also called project management life cycle, is a 5-stage process. These stages ensure that large investment projects meet the rigorous standards and are delivered on time. Let us take a closer look at the 5 stages of the project cycle from initiation to closure. Firstly, the initiation or identification stage. In the initiation stage, a project idea including infrastructure investment or institutional strengthening is initiated and the project steps are put into place. This step often includes a feasibility study to assess if an investment is worthwhile and the willingness of the users and key stakeholders is present. Note that projects may be abandoned at this stage if they are deemed too expensive or unjustifiable. Secondly, the planning stage consists of a number of steps that will help guide the overall project's execution. We will look at this in detail later in this video. Thirdly is the appraisal and approval stage, which includes a detailed project report produced during the planning stage. This phase can include negotiations between the key stakeholders involved and usually end in legally binding agreements covering the economic, institutional, and financial aspects of the project management and execution. In stage 4, the project is implemented. This can range from building citywide sewer infrastructure to implementing affordable sanitation services for previously unserved peri-urban areas. This also involves institutional strengthening, including capacity development and digitalization of management and monitoring systems. Finally, the 5th stage is closure and evaluation. In the case of large infrastructure that was commissioned to be built by a contractor, this stage ensures its smooth handing over. For example, a company that was contracted to build a fecal sludge treatment plant is obliged to transfer the operations of the facility along with the knowledge of how to operate it to the local service provider. Major funders, including multilateral development banks and national infrastructure funding agencies, usually end each project with an independent evaluation to assess the results of projects. The evaluation compares investment costs, benefits, and efficiency with what had originally been planned. Only then is an investment project officially closed.
We will now take a closer look at the different steps in the stage 2 of the project cycle, planning. In general, planning has 3 fundamental and iterative steps, guided by 3 simple questions. 1. Where are we now? To understand the current service provision levels, delivery mechanisms, actors, and existing infrastructure. 2. Where do we want to go? To understand what is the objective of the infrastructure and service provision project. For example, are we trying to achieve 100% coverage, 100% treatment, or 100% cost and resource recovery? What are the existing constraints? 3. How do we get there? The different pathways in which infrastructure and services can be designed in order to achieve our goals. Within each of these 3 fundamental steps, we have clear actionable activities that can be carried out. To understand where we are now, we can use a baseline assessment that includes surveys, interviews, stakeholder mapping, institution and policy analysis. While this is similar to the first stage of the project cycle, that is, the identification or initiation stage, in the planning cycle, we are doing a deeper analysis of the current situation instead of only an initial feasibility study. To understand where we want to go, we use multiple stakeholder consultations, where we first present the results from our baseline assessment and co-create a joint vision for the future of water and sanitation services in the city. It is in this stage that we understand the system boundaries and the constraints with which we will plan. Finally, in order to identify how to get there, we have to use expert planning skills and option-generating tools and methods. We must not only design the hardware aspects of service provision, such as the infrastructure, but also the software aspects, such as enabling policies and institutions. One key aspect which should not be ignored is the long-term operation and maintenance of the services. Having clear plans for these will ensure long-term sustainability of the infrastructure and services. These three steps are iterative and may lead to different types of plans, from sanitation master plans to modular service plans for incremental improvement. So when one planning cycle finishes, another could start from where it finished.
Now that you've seen what the stages are within the project and planning cycle, we'd like to highlight the following cross-cutting messages. Firstly, good planning takes time and dedicated resources with an exclusive planning budget. Cutting corners here will backfire when implementing the project. Secondly, stakeholder engagement builds ownership and ensures sustainability. Avoid paying lip service to participation and ensure the outcomes from the participation are taken seriously. Thirdly, focus on the service outcomes, not only on the infrastructure that is being built. Fourthly, be cognizant of existing infrastructure and services and find ways to effectively build on them instead of starting from scratch. Finally, prioritize equity, ensuring that services are accessible to all, irrespective of their financial means or location.
In summary, we have learned what the 5 stages of the project cycle are, stages that ensure investments are appropriately planned and that the promised outcomes are delivered on time. What the 3 iterative steps of an inclusive planning cycle are, how they are guided by the right questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how to get there? And lastly, cross-cutting dimensions to keep in mind when we plan water and sanitation services.